Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my Chikomi partner, Anthony. And today we have a very special guest. He's a friend of ours. He's a member of our dojo. We have Richard right here. Say hi, Richard.
Hello, everyone.
Now, the reason Richard's here today is because we're going to talk about him and Anthony went to Japan last year for the World Championships. And while they were there, they actually trained a bunch of dojos, did a lot of interesting things. So we're just going to talk about that kind of stuff today.
Yeah, this episode's kind of an extension of the interview we did with Johnny.
Yeah.
If you remember. So we actually planned this trip a while back. We were casually talking about it, but Johnny decided to go compete at the World Championships after we planned this trip. So it was quite interesting. So
yeah, it was actually a very like, I don't know what you would call it, but there was a lot of just random things that came together for this. Because I think we were planning on going anyway, and then Johnny kind of just was like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing now. I'm going to compete for Vietnam.
yeah, it worked out because you guys can share the room and split the costs and stuff. So
Oh, yeah. that was one thing that was interesting. I mean, I love that with traveling with people because I don't know about you, but I'm good traveling with people, or I'll travel alone. But, like, the whole, like, oh, I'm going to be over here for a few days, and I'll meet back up with you here. And then,
okay,
I met Johnny in Osaka. And then I forgot how that worked. And then we made up with you after because you went to the other side of Japan, and then we met up.
I went to
again
visit a friend. Yes.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with why don't you introduce yourself, like Richard? Sure. Yeah.
My name's Richard. I do train with these two. Sensei Juan throws me around quite a bit, and Anthony critiques my technique and makes sure that it's technical and all that other sort of stuff. But yeah, I think I've trained with you guys about 2 years. I think I've been at the dojo.
Have you had experience with judo before that?
No, actually, this is a very Japanese trip. Now that we're going to talk about it, I joined judo with you guys actually right after I came back from my first trip to Japan for Aikido. Okay. And I came back, and this is going to make it sound so terrible about Aikido, but I don't want to make it sound that way at all. But I came back from, like, going to train there. Like, I went by myself and trained at the different dojos, and that was, like, a very Budo sort of trip. Mm-hmm. And I came back, and I was just like, I want to also do judo. And
just randomly?
No, I mean, I've always wanted to do judo, but I was a lot heavier. I mean, I lost a lot of weight through Aikido and doing other stuff. And so finally after that, I felt good to, like, go and try it.
It's one of those, like, I need to get fit before I do judo kind of thing.
That's literally, I was like, and
it's a very common beginner question.
I don't want to look bad in my judo gi. I'm going to go lose 5 pounds.
I'm like, can I do this? I don't know. It looks pretty, like, acrobatic, and I'm going to, like, have to fly through the air and stuff, but not as a participant, like I want to fly through the air, but because someone's going to throw me through the air.
Now, you said that you were doing Aikido first, and that was one of your first trips to Japan, but then you came back, you wanted to do judo. What made you do judo? Did you, like, see it somewhere in the YouTube, Olympics? Did you see it while you were in Japan or something?
I've always really been into a lot of different martial arts. So, like, judo was definitely one of them. But when I was actually over there, part of the Aikido trip that I went to this seminar in Kyoto. And so this seminar that was there, it was at this Budo center. If you guys ever there's a few judo videos where they've shot there. It's a gorgeous place, but it's the Kyoto Budokan. And so it's like an old, like, training center, and then they have a building connected to it that has, like, multiple levels where they'll do, like, kendo and judo. So I was watching, like, a judo training while I was there, and I was like, you know what, I really kind of want to do that. And the other thing is that people don't realize this, in Aikido there are a lot of throws that are, like, Aikido-fied that are judo throws, like Taiotoshi, Sumiotoshi, you know.
Do you think it actually came from judo, or do you think it came from jiu-jitsu, like the...
No, it came from judo. In particular, this guy named Kanai Sensei. He's one of the guys that was one of the original students. And when he came to the U.S., he taught over in it's like New England, all that area. He kind of ruled that whole vibe over, like, East Coast. And so he was a judoka, along with a lot of these guys. And so when they joined into Aikido, they started to, like, bring some of that over, and it came from judo.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, Aikido and Judo both came from Jiu-Jitsu. It's just like which family of Jiu-Jitsu it came from. But yeah, it all came from Judo Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. And so I forgot where I was getting at with this, but also the other reason that I was kind of always thinking about judo is one of my senseis in Aikido was always like, your body frame, you'd be perfect for judo. You're, like, stout and short.
you do have the judo body.
No, right? that's messed up, because when most people say, oh, you have the body for judo, it's like, you call me fat?
I know.
saying, that's always the thing, because it's like, oh yeah, you're a strong, stout guy. You call me
low
fat.
center of gravity is what we call it.
Yeah, I got that judo body. Yeah, you know that judo body is, all right.
Yeah, I basically took it as like if I'm shaped like a tree trunk, I think it's supposed to, what they're kind of saying. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen Yamashita? He's like stout and thick.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's kind of where that all started. And so when I came back, I'm just gonna spill some tea real quick. Like when I came back, I wanted to start doing that and Aikido. I was like actually charged to like, you know, figure out how this would work together and how could these two things, you know, like cross train, right?
There's
and
nothing wrong cross training.
My sensei was not about it.
Oh yeah.
He was just like, he's like, yeah, I really don't want you to train judo. You're gonna learn bad ukemi and this and that. And I was just like, you're gonna become too forceful. And he had a very, and I'm gonna just say this, I do love Aikido, but there's a lot of, it's kind of like when you've been bullied a lot, you're expecting people to bully you. I think in martial arts, that's what a lot of Aikido senseis are like, because people are always talking about Aikido's inefficiency and, you know, coming from that point, right?
Yeah.
So I think he was worried that I would maybe like, you know, become too in love with judo and not want to do Aikido. And it had the adverse effect, unfortunately, that I literally was like, all right, well, I'm going to go do this and I'll maybe come back. But
he pushed you out of Aikido, trying to pull you in. It's it can happen. Well, some teachers, they're like we talked before, some teachers are just scared of losing their students, you know, especially to see someone that have a lot of potential in it. They're like, oh man, they're really good. I don't want them doing this grappling art or this striking art. I might lose them to that. And I think as long as you teach well and they have a good time and feel like they're learning something, they're not going to. But like you said, your sensei just bullied you into not going. It just pushed you away instead.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad that I did.
Okay. So besides doing Aikido and stuff, I know you did some other martial arts. Like, so what other martial arts have you done, and what belt ranks do you hold, or dan ranks?
So when I was a young kid, I did Nippon Kempo at like a Parks and Rec thing. It was actually really cool, and the sensei was really cool, even though it was Parks and Rec.
Don't knock down Parks and Recs out there, okay? People are trying to help people and teach people martial arts, all right? Don't knock them down.
That guy was cool, Sensei Domar. Yeah, he was cool. He was actually he was from Hong Kong too, Anthony.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a really cool guy. So I trained there as a kid. There I got to brown belt. I was brown belt. I didn't make it to black. And then I got involved in high school and all that sort of stuff and went through that. But then through Aikido, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, that kind of you can, there's a little microcosm of martial arts that are kind of in most Aikido dojos. And the main one's Iaido. And that was like one I loved. That helped me a lot, like mentally and everything. So they didn't really, because of some bureaucracy thing, they didn't pay to be a part of a federation or something, so they didn't rank people, but like I'm the equivalent of like Shodan basically.
Okay.
But even though I don't have like the paper and the stamp or whatever.
It's kind of the same in judo in certain aspects if you don't pay for it.
So you can cut bamboo with a sword, you're saying? So if I give you a sword, you do that whole cut thing and they fall.
Pennies.
You can do that?
Pennies. He would do this thing we could put, I mean, I don't know that I could do this that well, but he would put the little pennies on a little thing out there and you just,
Okay, all right. Well, I know you also wrestled before. How well or how far did you get in wrestling?
So wrestling, I did all 4 years of high school, and that was cool. I was in between 215s and 189s, and so that was actually a lot of fun. Was not what I would say I was not varsity, we'll put it that way.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're JV.
I was JV guy. And there was a lot of people
off.
in my weight class, but it was just like, you know, it was fun. It was a workout. It felt like a community. It was sports, and there was no. I'm not kidding myself here. There was no like. I was not CIF champ.
I wish my school had wrestling.
It was fun. It was really hard, but it was fun.
That's cool.
So, what rank? Tell everyone. I know what rank you are, but what rank are you in judo right now?
Off of our dojo?
Yeah.
Okay,
what other dojo do you train at?
What are you training?
At our dojo, I'm a blue belt.
Okay.
Everywhere else, I'm still a white belt. But
citrus color.
Yeah,
so
I'm citrus color still.
I think if we translate it, that's actually Yonkyu at most other places. Like our dojo does it slightly differently, but Yonkyu is our blue belt rank, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't quote
I guess
me
I
on
was
it,
thinking
but...
of the Japan thing where you're like.
It's around there.
It's around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're one below Sankyu, basically.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And Aikido, I was my God, it's been 2 years now. Where was I? I was at third. So it was Sankyo. Yeah, same thing. Sankyo over there too.
So how long have you done Aikido for? You said
Aikido I did for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, I did
okay.
3 years.
So your judo is catching up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, judo's catching up, but then Aikido, they have a lot of stuff that at least this dojo and they do this in Japan too, because that's what I actually went to go check out in Japan. Is they do a lot of like certain programs where like if you're part of this program, you have to like commit to be here this many days a week, and you have to do these other things. So it's uchideshi is, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You have to live there, wash clothes.
Basically, you're slave.
Food.
Yeah.
You're slave, and that's actually that's actually the reason I went for the first time in Japan. I wanted to train with this woman and see if I could be an uchideshi to go.
You want to be her slave?
I want to be her slave. She was very mean, so then I was like, maybe not. She'd be too mean. She was really cool.
How does the visa program for that work, though?
That I don't know.
He's a student.
Yeah, I think it would be like a cultural thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a student visa.
Because they're housing you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what compared to Aikido? Let's not start any fights about Aikido and stuff. But
no, it's okay.
What kept you in Judo? What kept you going? You talked about why you were interested in it, but what do you like about it? Why did you keep going instead of trying out something else?
So I will definitely say, because I know you want to be politically correct for the other martial artists that are out there. I definitely think that Aikido and Judo like fulfill me in very different ways. I can feel with Judo a better sense of camaraderie, honestly. Like I love the guys at the dojo. Like it feels really good in that sense, super welcoming, and like and that feels very good. But I can see in Judo that there are very practical ways in which I'm seeing betterment like in myself, and that's like a huge thing for me. So
that's
like
a big thing about Randori, right?
Randori, like when things are actually practically working. When I feel that something is feeling a lot better, and it just happens, and then it happens in Randori, and then you just feel like there's progression.
Oh yeah, you get that nice accomplishment feel right there. It's like it actually worked for you. You felt it in practication, application.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too with that sort of stuff, it's actually a different type of challenging. I think Aikido is challenging in the sense that it's not about being practical. It's about being like a martial art that trains you, and and in that sense, like it's very technique oriented, and the idea of that. So it's a little bit more like cerebral, if that makes sense. At least in my experience. But Judo feels like it's kind of all encompassing with that part. You know what I mean?
You will. It's interesting that you say that. You will find some more recreational or kata based judo clubs that are more cerebral in a sense, but they're not as common because competition holds so much weight in judo. So most dojos train for competition. Yeah.
And I also really, really appreciate this, which I didn't so much get, at least in my Aikido, even in Japan, I didn't really get this so much in my sort of Aikido experience, but I can see totally being a thing here in Judo, and especially our dojo, is like we're all shaped different. Like, so certain things work for a certain body type that it doesn't for the other. And Aikido, like, there's kind of a one size fits all. It's a very Japanese sense, right? Like, it's
really?
Like, this is how this one throw is, and this is how you do it.
Okay.
And it feels a little bit more like there's more like room for self-discovery and trying things out and playing with things in Judo than there is in Aikido.
Yeah, I see it exactly that. Like, it's like an art form. You learn the basics and then you make it yours, and there's your style, and everyone does it slightly differently, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when I teach people how to do ashiwaza techniques. Like, I can do ashiwaza with Anthony all day long, and like by the 2 hours, 3 hours, I'd be getting him every time. It felt great. Then I'm like, all right, go with Richard now. And that technique, that style I did with Anthony is not going to work with you. So it's different with each person, how you have to change the technique to work for them, to work for you, and to work against people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what keeps you in Judo? What was the thing that kept you here in Judo besides just the camaraderie? Is it just like the belt rankings? What makes you want to get higher into Judo?
Definitely the physical parts. Like, I mean, that's a huge part of my martial art thing, is because like when I got out of high school, like I went into working in the food world as a chef, and so it was like and catering. So like I'm getting out at like 3 a.m, like gaining all sorts of weight, being unhealthy, like then going back to work the next. It was a lot of that. So I definitely feel that like it feels like it's in alignment with my physical goals for sure. But also I just leave there feeling so good, honestly. Like not even the camaraderie part, like the physical exercise, the exertion, like I know this is going to sound really more like I'm getting in other realms, but like feeling a little beat up is really actually something that it feels good.
No,
it's like
a
after
good
a hard
workout, no,
right? Yeah.
Being sore, feeling for a good workout, like people don't understand that. It's like when you go to, okay, like when I used to do karate tournaments, like hardcore karate tournaments or like judo tournaments, and you get that soreness the next day or even that night, you're like, yeah, I did something. Like I fought a guy, I got cut.
I'm alive. That's what you think.
Yeah, it's like,
right?
I'm a fucking beast.
Yeah, absolutely. And and even beyond that stuff, like I remember one thing that actually really it made me want to stick with it in the beginning is there were certain people who shall remain nameless that I worked with a lot in the beginning of our dojo experience here, and my calves were like bruised all the time. They were like beat up. Certain people do, and again, certain people do ashiwaza maybe a little different. And so I remember being like, oh my God, like my shins, like I have these little knots in them and like it hurts and I'm bruised up and all of that. And that to me is like, it feels good. Yeah. I say that now and they're like,
so going back to how you discovered judo, like, how did you find a dojo, or like rather, why did you not? Well, first of all, have you tried or heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Like,
I think you wanted to Google, typed in judo, saw Hollywood. I was like, I'll go try them.
Very different than that. So first with the BJJ thing, it's like, it's going to sound so terrible. And I'm sure there's many BJJ guys out here. So this is going to be political.
We're already getting a lot of hate mail for it.
All right.
Okay, well then if that's the case, I'm going to just shoot right in. I do not belong in the BJJ world. Every guy that I've come across, it's been like, you should come train in our dojo or, at our academy or whatever. I'm like, I don't like you. It's so bad. I'm like,
so a personality trait, you don't like the BJJ personalities. All right.
Yes. There's certain things about it that I just like, and I know that there's a lot of guys that are crushing it. I don't mean it to sound like that, but there was just definitely a whole, like, I don't feel like I fit into this world here. And
it takes a while to find a place. It took me 2 years for me to find a club I like. So
it feels very, for me, and I'm only speaking for me, it just feels a little like meatheady and like, it's just not my place. And that's okay. I mean that.
It's very interesting that you don't say that about wrestling.
No, wrestling.
Oh, no, he did. He just said the same thing about wrestling. You just didn't read into it. I read into it. I was like, I know why. I grew up wrestling. I wrestled from the 5th grade all to college. So I know exactly who he's talking about and exactly what's happening here.
I mean, I will say, my wrestling team was so cool. I mean, I'm sure that we're fine to talk about this, but I was out all 4 years. My group, like my team, was fucking awesome. So it was really cool, great friends. But I was just like, the extra level, I didn't have that. Like at that time, I was just like, I'm gonna go run in like fucking trash bags and like bump heads and do all that other, like that wasn't me. So, but yeah, that's why. So getting back to what I was to say is that BJJ was not really the realm that like I felt I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And I was much more interested in throwing parts. So I actually found Hollywood Judo through Adam, who trains Aikido as well. And I went to check out maybe 4 or 5 times, I think, to his dojo, which is right, we used to be right where,
which is right next to us. Yeah.
And so I saw it, but actually the first place I went to physically check out was Tenri, which is close to where I live. Mm. And that was like, whoa, okay. I walk in and the guy's like, and they're, oh my God, it's amazing. But for a beginner, really good, he was just like, yeah, so there's no beginner's class. You're going to just have to go in. And he goes, you know Aikido, so you'll be okay taking the fall.
You'll be good. You'll be all right.
So here, sign this disclaimer. And I was like, and then so I sat in on a class and I was like, yeah, this is pretty hardcore. But for me, I'm a little bit more like, I like all the technical learning and I like all that stuff. So Hollywood was like instantly the right fit.
Yeah. So I remember you and a bunch of other people told me this, was that they don't teach. It's actually on their Yelp review or whatever too. There. Yeah. Like they don't, sorry, I just got a time limit warning. They don't teach beginners.
No.
So
they make that very clear.
They don't teach adults. They just basically warm up and then stretch and randori for like an hour or two.
Randori for like 2 hours, something like that.
Yeah. So don't, unless you're a kid, they don't really teach you.
Yeah. And I think just for me, I mean, and it was awesome. Like, it's honestly, it's like, it looks like an amazing dojo. And like, we've competed with some of them, right. And competition stuff, and they're fucking amazing. But it just for me, like, I'm the sort of person, I think this is why Anthony, you and I, actually all three of us, I think we get on in this realm, is like, if I'm going to do Tai Otoshi, I want to know what makes it a Tai Otoshi and what doesn't make it a Tai Otoshi. And like, I was very clear that for me, I'd have to really do a lot of personal investigation over there to actually learn these things.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's funny that you said Tai Otoshi because it's one of the throws with the most variations out there, I think. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, something that you brought up that we probably talk about anyways is that you are a gay man, you're a gay Hispanic male that's doing judo, doing grappling with a bunch of other guys. That's considered like a manly sport, a manly thing, you know?
Yeah, right.
What's been your experience being a gay man doing grappling, you know?
Oh, I've had like literally zero issues, honestly, in my life, because I don't know, I maybe have just lucked out in certain ways. I've never had any, like, especially in judo, actually, I haven't had any like what I would call like persecution or people bias, like bringing biases in or whatever, because like I think there's just a certain way of like, irregardless of what your orientation is, like there's just a certain sense of how you carry yourself. And I think that like I found, at least at this dojo, like nothing but mutual respect. Like, you know, there's times where people will say things and I'm like, and I have to point out, like, you know, you keep talking about this a lot, and the fact that you're talking about it a lot, maybe you need to, why is that in your head so much? Then they don't bring it up no more. Like that in wrestling, I've had like zero issues about it whatsoever. And I think even if there was, just the way I am, I think it would be like a, you know, we'd talk about it or just kind of keep it over there or whatever. But no, never any issues.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. For me, you're not the first gay guy I've trained with in grappling. It's funny, it's not the first gay guy I trained with grappling or striking stuff. And I think as long as people understand that, they keep your space and you be cool about it, there's been no problems I've seen. Like you and me, we've done Newaza together. I've never seen anybody have a problem with doing Newaza with you.
No. And this is something I'm actually, I wasn't thinking we were talking about this, but it's cool because I'm an open book. But anyone who's...
You brought it up, brother, all right?
Right? Anyone who's been on the mat and has been thrown or has been choked out or is doing wrestling knows this, that like, when you're in those modes, you're not thinking, oh, would I go date this person? No, you're like...
You've got to be pretty weird to do that. Like, I mean, it is legitimately a problem, like sexual assault and grappling, right? You hear about it you actually hear about it in BJJ a lot. They had a few scandals recently. But
really?
Yeah, you're usually like in fight or flight mode, and you're just like, how do I not get choked out? You're not worried about where you're
what happens
people.
if I get choked out.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest. Like that's the farthest thing. And I mean, maybe I need to just say this in case people do have like newcomers to their dojo. That's because I've actually had, if we're talking about this, I've had a lot of queer people that have been like, you know, I've always wanted to do that, but I don't feel like I'd fit in there. I'm like, I don't know. It really depends on the space, but
it depends on dojo.
No one is thinking about that when you're practicing, when you're doing ronder. Like I'm speaking from purely being open and like from experience that I've never been on the mat and been like, oh, well, I want to go ask this guy on a date. Like, no. And I will say this one thing, and I'm going to keep this person nameless, but there was someone who was like going on about it, right? And was like being very sincere or whatever. And I'm like, you ever thought to think about that maybe we don't want to date you? Like, like, you ever thought about the fact that like...
that's great. I love that. Let me tell it. Hey, kill a man right there. You want to know what? You're actually not my type, so...
Yeah, exactly.
I'm over in the bears, and you're a catcher, okay?
Right. No, but I will say for people listening to your podcast and stuff like that, like I've had nothing but like great experiences at this dojo with that. Everyone is respectful and cool, and there's mutual respect, and so it feels home.
Right.
For sure.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So we have some really good news to talk about today with talking about judo competition. So here in the U.S., USA Judo announced that next year they're going to have the USA Nationals in Reno in, May 18th through May 16th in Reno, Nevada. So that's going to be really cool because for us, we're in LA. Reno's not that far. It's like a half-hour trip by flight or something. I don't know. It's going to be, but most likely I'll probably be going.
Again.
What?
I thought they would do Las Vegas again because how apparently the turnout was huge last time. But I guess with everything that's going on, it might not be such a great idea to hold it in a casino. So
maybe some parents lost a lot of money there. That's why they're moving it to another gambling city where they can gamble more. Well, it's funny because usually at the USA Nationals, it's held usually in the Midwest. Usually it's in Texas or Utah or somewhere in the Midwest. So it's everybody traveling to one central location instead of everybody like from East Coast having to come all the way to the West Coast. But I guess
last year was in Florida. Last year was in Florida.
Yeah, it was in Florida last year, wasn't it? So yeah, so it's a trade-off. We had to travel all the way to Florida. This time they have to come here. But it's gonna be cool being in Reno. I want to go and compete. You think about competing next year?
I mean, next year June. Let's see how my knee feels by then. Yeah.
No, it's gonna be in May. May.
So, yeah, that'll be a bit too early, I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Just tape it up, wrap it up, man.
Want to be in. So one of the things, just to put it out there, like everyone I've talked to that had knee surgery before that does judo are like, yeah, it's never the same. It re-tears, re-injures easily, and I'm like, how long did it take you to get back into judo after surgery? And they're like, 6 months. I'm like, that's way too early. Like it might be good idea to get back in to start light and do some drills and stuff, but doing rondori tournaments and stuff 6 months back, it's asking to re-tear it basically. And I talked to my surgeon, he agrees, like most people get back in too early and that's why they re-injure it and then they have to go back in and fix it again. But so I'm gonna take the long easy route and all
right. Well, it's the itch, man. The itch.
Yeah, now I'm just I'm slacking off. So
well, this maybe be another road trip for us. We get some more people this time. Maybe get a van. We can drive up to Reno instead of fly. I don't know. We'll figure it out maybe. But I'm about 75% sure that I'm going for the most part, unless something happens. Maybe other good news. Some other good news that happened that came out is that they actually announced also the Junior Olympics, the USA Junior Olympics will be happening in June from the 18th to the 20th in North Carolina. So
North Carolina. Last year it was here. It was out here, right? Or it was in Colorado. I don't remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was last year.
Because I think exactly. Tyra from our dojo went there, and I'm pretty sure it was around here.
One of our junior members went. Yeah. Oh, it was San Diego, I think.
Yeah. Okay. It
was in San Diego.
North Carolina. Maybe I'll see if any of the kids want to go.
But any of our youth members want to go to North Carolina?
Yeah, I don't know if they want. Yeah, I want to go visit North Carolina, but we'll see how the world is by then. So
see if there's a vaccine by then, or see who's even going to go at that time. Yep. Like I have hopes up that we can go in May for USA Nationals. So that's me. Other really good news happening is that the IJF announced how many tournaments? 3 tournaments coming back already?
Yes. Yep. There's the Budapest Grand Slam. And what else? Tokyo Grand Slam in December, and the World Judo Masters will be held at the early beginning of 2021 in Qatar.
Okay, excellent.
Let's go to Qatar.
Let's go to Qatar. You want to go to Qatar Center? I go to Qatar Center in North Hollywood.
Hey, we're both old enough to fight in Masters, so
yeah, you make me feel like an old man, man. I gotta grade my beard. I could. What? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I'm cheating though.
No,
I feel bad now when I compete in Masters division. I feel bad when I'm going to Masters tournament.
I think the World's Masters is a little different from USA Judo Masters. So.
Yeah, some ex-national team members there and stuff.
I'm pretty sure some regular like senior international competitors actually compete in the Masters too. So it's not going to be a walk in the park like you say it is.
No, I would say it'd be easy. I'm going to say it'd be interesting. Hey, all about experiences. Judo's all about experiences to me, all right?
Yeah. I mean, Johnny fought in...
Johnny's crazy. That's just crazy shit, Johnny. I think that's an amazing story. Him going out there as technically a green belt, can be a black belt, international level. He was on the mat for 30 seconds.
20 seconds.
When he said, "Oh, I gave him too much. My bad. Too much."
Yeah, that's
really cool.
That's including the bow.
Including the was it you including the walk on the mat? Also?
Yeah. 20 seconds. Otherwise, the whole thing lasted 15 seconds. I think. So,
you just keep cutting the boy down.
No, it's amazing what you did. Yeah.
So it's really cool that since Tokyo is not going to get the Olympics this year, they're at least going to get their Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting because they're going to get their Grand Slam, and then they're also going to get the Tokyo Olympics next year again. So it's just one of those interesting things. Just one of the interesting things about how Judo just continues going on. We just got to keep pushing, continue fighting as much as we can, practice how you can, be safe out there, and just compete when you can.
If the Grand Slam is in December, I want to go. I'd probably fly there.
I don't think they'll let you go.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because right now Japan's not letting any. Well, a lot of countries aren't letting any Americans in.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how some of the American athletes will qualify for Olympics, because I know
it would probably be a thing that because they're an athlete, they'll get an exemption to go. They'll have to go like probably 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then probably whenever they go, they have to go to quarantine.
Have you dealt with Japanese bureaucrocy before?
Actually, yes, I have.
Yeah, so,
actually, yes, I have.
I think you're putting a little too much faith in their flexibility here.
But this is judo, man. This is judo here. It's their sport.
Well, like, it'll be great for. I think it's great for the athletes if they actually do that, but I wouldn't bet on it. So
yeah, well, as like I watched NHK News and they're talking about how some athletes from some of the more poorer countries that are supposed to go there before for the Olympics, they're just staying there. That they got there early and they're just stay there for the entire year.
Yeah.
They're not going back home. They can't travel back, visit their family. They have to stay in Japan, do Zoom calls, or they have to do, but just because
that's what I should do.
Visa. Oh, that's what you're gonna do.
So I need to stay here, man, to watch the Olympics. Gotta end the
baby.
Grand Slam.
I'm sorry. I gotta go to Tokyo. I'm sorry. I not gotta be here. I'm sorry. My bad. You can stay in a dorm or something, or with a youth hostel.
Well, the Kodokan has dorms if you train there.
That's what you're just gonna train there the entire time.
Well, I can't with my knee right now, but if I could train, I would actually train there and stay at the Kodokan. It's not bad. So
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So today's main topic is that we're talking about judo as a martial art, as a self-defense, and maybe go into MMA after that. But a lot of people ask me when they first start doing judo is, how's judo as a self-defense? Or I want to learn judo to help defend myself. And depending on what dojo you go to or sensei you talk to, even at a dojo, some senseis will be that judo's just a martial art. It's just a sport. It's the sport of judo. That's what we do here. And I train for sport. And you get other senseis that's more open, like me, and Anthony's pretty open to that. Yes, judo is a martial art you can use in self-defense. There's great examples of it. You hear about stories about people throwing somebody that tried to attack them, or getting them in a choke or an armbar, or just a stone that gets from behind, to defend themselves. And they teach it in all women's self-defense class. They teach judo throws. And almost every women's self-defense class I've ever seen, they always show at least 1 or 2 judo throws. So Anthony, how do you feel about judo as a self-defense, like fighting, defending yourself? What do you think?
I personally think all martial arts has something to contribute to self-defense. But my general thought is that most self-defense taught out there is useless, because effectiveness aside, of the techniques itself, that is, I mean, it's just like competition, right? The only way you can get good at competition is to just compete.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many randori rounds you do, how much uchikomi you do. You just have to compete to do it. Same thing with self-defense. Without simulating that stress level, like that fight or flight instincts, or that environment, you'll never be prepared for it. It doesn't matter how many throws or techniques you learn, unless you train at that high stress level, it's not going to prepare you for it. And even then, it's different. Like, for example, I've talked to a lot of people that went to the first judo tournament. I'm like, do you remember what happened in your first tournament, right? Your first match. Do you remember what happened in your first match? I don't remember a thing. I don't remember what throw I did. I don't remember how I got thrown. I don't remember what happened. It was just like a flash. It's all blur because you're nervous, and when you're nervous, automatically you start breathing faster. So your stamina is already went from 100% down to 50% or whatever, right? And you start having fight or flight instincts, and most of your training just goes right out the window. And so the same thing with self-defense. You have to constantly practice that environment, which a lot of places don't simulate it, because to be honest, it doesn't sell very well. It doesn't market very well. Can you imagine?
Travis Stevens said that if we sell Judo as a martial art, as a self-defense, we'll get more students. That's what Travis Stevens says. If we just sell it on the sport, people don't take the sport seriously. It's like, okay, here's a story about me, okay? Growing up, I grew up wrestling, okay? I couldn't afford martial arts when I was a kid. Taekwondo, karate, all stuff was too expensive for my parents. They couldn't afford it for me. So a teacher of mine knew I loved martial arts and knew I really wanted to do martial arts. And her son was a wrestler. And the high school had a free wrestling program for youths. So I grew up wrestling. Like, she put me in that. My mom put me in there and stuff. And I wrestled from 5th grade all the way up to college. But it's something that one of my coaches would always say when I was in high school is that wrestling on the mat, it's a fight. You're in a fight on the mat. And as a youth, when I was younger, when I was in high school, I was really like, no, it's not. It's a sport. Right? It's a sport out there. We're not fighting. Because I'm thinking fighting like I'm gonna punch the guy, elbow him, give him a kick or something. He's a spinning back fist, double leg. That's what I thought of a fight. It wasn't until I got older and I got more into MMA that I understood about grappling as a fighting art. And it wasn't until like when I was like maybe junior or sophomore year and I started getting more into watching UFC and stuff. This is when it became legal again. You can watch it on TV again. And I saw that like these wrestlers, double legging guys, taking him down, ground and pound, using just pinning submissions just to hold the guy down and make them submit. And like, shit, wrestling is a fight. It is fighting. It is a martial art out there. And I think that's the same thing with judo, is that too many people see judo as a sport, sees the Olympic sport, the international stuff. And they just see the beautiful throws and how we get back up. Because that's another crazy thing people don't see is that, oh, he got thrown, he got right back up. We can't be that effective. Oh, yeah, because we have body toughness. We're used to it, you know?
Man, imagine getting thrown like 1,000 times a day. Like towards the end of the training, you're just getting up is hard itself.
Yeah.
So.
And it's imagine like we're used to being thrown on mats, on cushions and stuff, on crash pads. Imagine getting thrown on concrete. Yeah. That's the whole thing. Even a bad throw on concrete, you're still rolling your spine.
Adrenaline's hell of a drug, though. So
it is, but when it stops, you're gonna be like, I think my back's broken.
Yeah, but to explain what I mean is most places don't prepare you for that environment. But obviously, some training is better than no training. And if you've been competing, you're more prepared for it than someone who doesn't compete. I think because you're used to a high stress environment. But the dangerous part of that is, a lot of these places, they give people a false sense of confidence. And I think the biggest part of self-defense is actually environmental awareness and de-escalation tactics. And most places don't teach you de-escalation. Let's be straight here. Yeah. Best way of winning a fight is to just not fight at all, right? So, no de-escalation. And then that false sense of security will tend to get people overconfident, and that affects their environmental awareness. So that's my 2 cents on self-defense. A lot of these places don't teach that.
When someone comes to you and says, is judo good self-defense? Is it a good martial art to learn to defend myself? What would you tell somebody?
I just tell them it's better than not doing anything at all. But I also am kind of against those like self-defense seminars that a lot of places teach, especially the all-women ones. Like, one guy with the all-women class. Yeah. I mean, those people are usually training to protect themselves from bigger, larger men. So doing these seminars with other women that have women's strength and women's size don't tend to really simulate that kind of scenario. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Yeah, but again, that doesn't sell well, because you're like, hey, you want to come train a women's self-defense class with these bunch of like huge guys that's going to be strangling you, you know?
Yeah. But, well, as someone that actually, I've held women's self-defense classes, and the reason we have only women ones is because some women don't feel comfortable training with men that they don't know, or don't feel comfortable training with people they don't know. So that's why I always say when we have the women's self-defense class, bring a friend if you can. Yeah. So you have someone to train with. But even then, someone will be hard with each other. And I've had women in the class be like, oh my God, Juan, I've had these bruises on my arms now. It's like, hey, it wasn't me. It was that person that you had that you brought with you.
It's also not supposed to be comfortable. Like you want to simulate being attacked.
Yeah. So, and some people don't want that. Some people, when they go to these self-defense class for women and stuff, like what I've held in my experience, is that some women, they're just going for fun. They're really not even going to learn self-defense. They just want, I learn how to fall a little bit and learn how to throw a palm strike or an elbow, or throw somebody kind of with an ippon seonagi kind of.
Yeah. But yeah, again, most of my problem is with people who are exploiting people. That's what I have a problem with, like, especially when they market it like right after, like, oh, you know, like your neighbor just got attacked, you should go like take my Krav Maga class, you know, like like that. I feel like that
class.
Yeah,
kick them in the nuts, throw some sand in their face, and shoot them.
You're kind of exploiting people's fear in a sense. So, and I mean, there's really no way of fixing this problem because there's no like national governing body for self-defense, and even then, it might not actually be the most legit. And these people are most of them are just scared, right? And they don't know what's good and what's bad. So how do they like determine what's good or bad?
Well, I think with learning any martial art is in a self-defense or for spiritual or physical, whatever, it builds confidence in you. And at least when you're learning judo, if you're learning judo, jiu-jitsu, karate, taekwondo, kickboxing, whatever, you're building confidence in yourself that if something does happen, you can defend yourself. And that's something that I always say when I teach my self-defense classes. I teach defend yourself, escape, and then run away. Escape. All right. Don't stand there. Don't poke them in the eyes, throw them down, and then admire what you did. Be like, yes, I took them down. No, you throw them, you take them down, you escape, you get the arms off you, and you immediately run away to where there's people and where there's light. And I have seen some of these self-defense classes will do all these crazy techniques. They'll be like, gouge them in the eyes, break their neck, take them down, hit them, stop in the groin, and then stand there and wait till someone comes. Like, no. As soon as you rake the eyes, as soon as you get away from them, you leave. You don't stand there. That's one thing I always teach when I teach.
Yeah. So another goes back to the escape part, right? So the best part of self-defense is just getting fit and being able to run faster than.
We should learn track and field.
Well, that's one of the things that Muay Thai helped me was with my cardio, and I can run away really fast, right? So, I think getting fit is like number one priority, right? Doesn't matter what you know if you're like super overweight and you can't get away. So
well, I don't think people are trying to kidnap you if you're super overweight. I don't know. Do they kidnap overweight people?
Well, it's not just kidnapping, it's just being attacked, right?
Yeah.
But environmental awareness is super important. Like I teach my girlfriend, like when I walk to a restaurant, like it's not just even being attacked just for safety reasons. Like if there's a fire or something, like look at where all the nearest exits are, right? Or when I lived in Asia, my mom would always tell me like, don't sit next to the subway door because that's when people can come in and steal your phone and just run out the door as the door's closing or certain things like that. When you walk by people in a dark alley or street or something, like see if their like hands are in their pocket, and this kind of stuff like that you just got to be aware of. Don't be on your cell phone while you're walking. That's just common sense.
Well, it's just the common sense of look both ways before you cross the street nowadays.
Yeah, but most people don't know that. And even if you tell them that, like, you can write a book, have a list, and you teach them that, unless they practice, going back to the practice, right? Unless they practice that, it's not going to happen. And I think there's someone in our I don't know if she minds us talking about like plugging her, but someone in our dojo actually teaches that kind of self-defense class. So I actually really like what she teaches because it emphasizes on the training and the real world simulation and environmental awareness part of it more so than techniques like you said, poking an eye, groin strikes, and all that kind of crap. So
so when it comes to judo as a martial art, as a self-defense in that way, I totally understand what you're talking about. There's also a thing where if you can escape, if someone does chase you or someone does instigate a fight with you, I think judo is a very good martial art to know, because what do most people do when they attack? They put their hand on you. They try to grab your chest. They try to grab your throat or something, which is really stupid. People try to grab your throat because it's like, no, get away from me. So, and when someone puts your hand on you, what's the first thing you do? Ippon seonagi, taitoshi, ogoshi. All right. It's a great basic, easy throws.
No flying armbar?
No flying armbar. You do not do a flying armbar in a street fight. And that has more to do with me also about not pulling guard in a street fight. Because I've been in lots of street fights growing up. Okay, I've been in a lot of street fights in the Bay Area. I've been in a few street fights here in LA. You don't know who's around you. you might be in a fight with one guy or one person, whoever's attacking.
That's the thing about jiu-jitsu, right? They say jiu-jitsu is best for self-defense. Like I kind of agree if it's like a one-on-one thing, but
you never know.
You never know. They might be his friend might be around the corner, right?
Yeah, his friend be standing there and be like, "Oh shit, he pulled his guard." You've seen the street fight videos on YouTube where guys will have a person rear naked choke, and then his homie will come and start stomping the other guy in the face, or soccer kick him in the head,
or stop the fight. Like,
they'll be like, "Hey, stop, man! Stop that gay shit, man! Stop that pussy shit right there! Stand up and fight!" Nah, fuck that. I'm choking this guy out. I'm breaking his arm, taking his arm home with me. That's why I don't tell people like, "Oh, pull guard or go to the ground." Try to stay away from the ground as much as you can. If you double like a guy, get a person with a multogari and take him down, stand back up immediately. And this doesn't sound very mean. I know people are going to hate it when I say this, but if someone pulls guard on me, there's a very mean thing to do to somebody. You get your hand, you put it around the smaller back. You get your forearm, you put it across their throat. And I pull the smaller back and I push their throat down so their head has nowhere to go when they're going down the ground in concrete. And I'm just boom, straight down. You pull guard on me, that's what's going to happen. And your head's going to hit that concrete, cement, grass, whatever it is, your head's hitting that first. And if you get mad, you can't. It's a street fight. Okay, technically street fight. Anything's legal for the most part in a street fight.
So let me ask you this: since we both train striking on cross train striking, what do you think about striking versus grappling for self defense?
I think striking is number one for self defense. I'd rather strike in a self defense street fight situation than a grapple. Because once I get to the ground with somebody, if I throw them or they hold on to me, they pull guard, I don't know about people around them. Their homie might not like it. Their girlfriend might not like it. I'm going to get a soccer kick to the head. I might even get stabbed in the back or stabbed in the side or hit with a chair. Who knows?
But you don't think you can just throw and run? Like throw them and then run away?
I could, but a lot of people, when they get thrown, I've done before, a lot of people, when they get thrown, they'll hold on to you. They'll never know what the hell's going on. And they try to pull guard.
That's fair enough,
guillotine. Or you throw someone, they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" They try to hold on to you. And I just, boom, I land them on the ground and keskatame pretty much. And then roll off them or stay in keskatame and look around. Because you got to look around.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing about a street fight.
Self-awareness, environmental awareness. Again.
Yeah. You have to boom, hit the ground. It's not just boom, bam, 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 trying to punch the guy in the face or something, or just trying to scarf hold or neck crank him. You got to be like, what's his friends at? What's going on around here? Who's around me right now? Okay. And then he still might be holding on to you. Get a little elbow to the back of the head right there, right now, or something. But
yeah, so I personally think striking is effective in like if you're intent on fighting this person, right? But if one of the most effective skills you learn in striking is distance control, right? But if you're able to keep that distance, then you can run away. That's basically my interpretation of it. So if you can run away, there's really no need for you to strike in the first place. So if you do get into an unavoidable situation, that means grappling is going to be probably the most useful case, assuming the other person's not trained. So
that's another thing. You never know nowadays what people are training in or what they know.
That's the thing I learned most about starting training martial arts was that anything can happen. Like even within the sport itself, anything can happen. Like I think I threw Charles like this black belt in our dojo once, and he didn't expect it. It was the only time I threw him, and it's like, again, anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
So in the street with all these variables, like people around, there might be a concrete step over there that you trip over, or whatever. Or it might be slippery. Like it's an uncontrolled environment. Anything can happen. So for that, I think grappling is better. And when I trained Wing Chun, and a lot of places don't say this. They emphasize on the striking, but they'll tell you like hitting someone's easy, but controlling them is hard. Yeah, that's what you want to aim for, is control, right? And I think judo does it better of that than most striking arts, because even jiu-jitsu, like you ever like roll when you started grappling, have you rolled with someone like that's like higher level than you, and then you just don't know what's going on, you can't control your body, and you feel like they're just making circles around you?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never had that before in my life. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just that sense of helplessness, and you don't have control over your body, or this like guy who's half the size of you is just putting all this pressure on you, and you just can't do anything about it. That is something that grappling offers that striking does not, I think.
Well, I think what's good with grappling or judo when it comes to street fighting is that there's a distance, that we're talking about. So when they're a distance away and I can strike, I can keep them away from me. But what if
Mhm.
the guy does shoot it on me or just bum rushes me and just comes after me? That's where judo comes in. And that's where it
Yeah.
comes in again, where guy comes straight at me, tries to do a double leg to me. I can sprawl out or throw him. I can get him with a rice bag throw or a taitoshi or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's really
Kawaragaishi,
good where
yeah.
we have to learn, we're knowing grappling, especially throwing from wrestling or judo and stuff or sambo. Throwing, I think, really helps in a street fight in that situation where there's different distances where I can't kick a guy or I can't jab a guy out.
Yeah.
When he comes in and bum rushes me, what am I gonna do? Punch like this and stuff to hit him
Yeah.
in his head? That's not gonna work. I can try to work some knees in or something.
Yeah.
What's better is that, and I have him now. He's now on me. Double underhooks, under over, whatever it is. Taitoshi, haraigoshi. There's any of the throws I like to do to throw a person.
Mhm.
Especially if someone comes bum rushing towards me, they're gonna fly. Tomonage, rice bag throw. That's what's gonna happen.
This is more of like a personal opinion, but I feel like with striking, unless you knock the person out or you break something, they're not going to give up. Like you body punch them or you hit them in the face, they're going to keep coming at you. But I think for grappling, when you submit them or you make them feel helpless, like kind of without being able to control their body, they're going to give up faster, I think. So that's just my personal opinion. So
yeah, it's one thing that I tell people when they come to judo and they ask, well, is judo a martial art that I can use for self-defense? I'm like, yes, if you learn it. And it goes again to go like who teaches you. Some dojos only teach sport judo. All they care about is tachiwaza and maybe some pins. They don't care about newaza. They don't care about jujikatame, udikatames, harakajimes. They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care about arm bars, kimuras, or chokes. For people that don't understand what I'm saying, they don't care about that stuff. All they care about is pinning a person if they go there down the ground or getting an ippon pin or wazari. That's all they care about. And if you go to one of those dojos, of course, they're going to tell you judo is not a martial art for self-defense. They're going to say it's a martial art for sport only. So you really have to figure out a gym that's going to teach you this, or at least a sensei at the gym is going to talk about it openly.
What do you think about the learning curve for judo? Because one of the most common things I've heard from other judokas, which I kind of agree on, is the learning curve for judo is really high, like compared to striking and jiu-jitsu. Like you can be effective in those two things faster than you can be effective in judo. Because I mean, people have been trying to not fall since they were babies, right? They've been practicing since they were like a little kid. But how long have you been practicing throwing people, right? Versus striking, you can learn. You can probably be pretty effective in striking in a few months. And same thing with jiu-jitsu. You can get your first submission because most people don't know what's going on the ground. But trying to throw someone, they've been trying to not fall for many years. So getting effective in judo takes a lot more commitment than these other sports. So a lot of people will be like, I mean, we've had some of these people come by our dojo. They're like, I haven't thrown anyone in a year. This is like so frustrating. And that was me at one point.
They hit that plateau or just, Well, it's an old sensei told me a long time ago when I was a white belt, I think I was told is that judo's a marathon, not a sprint. And you have to think about it that way, that judo's a marathon. It's going to take time to learn and perfect it. And if you're not willing to learn and perfect it or want to learn and perfect it, then it's not going to come to you any faster. I think if you're willing to learn it and want to learn it properly, do it correctly, you're going to catch it faster, I think. Where if you're like, oh, I want to learn judo in 6 months, or I want to get a brown belt in a year, or I've had people ask me that too before, like, hey, what do I do to get my brown belt in 6 months or in a year? It's like, you can't. You have to be really, really good and come to judo almost like 5 days a week to do that.
But in terms of being effective in self-defense, I think it takes more commitment than some of these other arts. So
I think
you can't just learn it for a year and expect to like throw everyone. Like that's not untrained, is what I'm saying.
I think you could, because I think that if more senseis took the time to teach gi-less judo with underhooks, overhooks, body locks, and double unders and stuff, double overs, headlocks stuff, took more time to teach gi-less judo, it would be seen more as a self-defense because people can use it outside.
You think it's just that and not like, because most beginners, even after a year of training, they're trying to muscle through these throws. There's like no sense of trying to sense the off balancing or the concept of kazushi and all that stuff. Like these people don't usually get them in a year unless you're really talented or really athletic.
I think some people, I personally think some people do, but some people don't. Like there are some members that have been at my dojo for a long time that do decently at tournaments, but because they muscle everything. And then they go against a high-ranking brown or black belt and they get tossed and they get mad and frustrated. Like someone that happened to somebody last year at USA Nationals. And it's like, yeah, because you muscle stuff through so much that, yeah, it works with other white belts. But when you go higher ranks or someone's really good, that's like, I'm a good white belt. That's almost like the brown
belt. When we talk about self-defense, it's not these kind of people that we're talking about. It's your average person. Like, I feel like within a year, they're not going to, like, let's say they had a choice of training a year of judo versus a year of jiu-jitsu or a year of Muay Thai or boxing. I think personally, I think as a judo person too, like I think for self-defense, if they only had a year to invest and they're not going to make it like a long-term investment thing, they're better off choosing those other arts for self-defense. That's my personal opinion.
I could see boxing and Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, even karate and stuff. Yeah, totally. But I still like, when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff, I just don't like pulling guard on a street fight. Unless you're really good at taking someone's back and you have a really strong back yourself and you don't mind getting your head knocked on concrete. That's just my thing in a street fight. But there are videos where you see kids and you see guys and you see people do jiu-jitsu in street fights and they win. They do really well, you know?
It's really interesting because I've been watching this YouTube video called Street Beefs a lot. I found it on Twitch. Someone was streaming it a while ago. But with the prominence of MMA, you see all these people doing these semi-pseudo jiu-jitsu stuff, but it's clear that they never trained and just saw it on YouTube or UFC or something. They're trying to emulate it. And it's interesting because, like, again, goes back to what we said about anything can happen, right? You don't know how much that guy might have not trained, but he might, your average person knows a little more than your average person like 10 years ago, I think.
Well, when you watch MMA for a long time, you're like, I can double leg somebody. That a double leg's easy. Look at that. I can double leg and rearing a choke. I've seen him do it. I listen to Joe Rogan, get underneath the chin, get right here, put around that. I listen to Joe. I know what's going on. That reminds me of a guy years ago, like almost 10, I had to be at least 10 years ago now. That was on a New York subway and this guy was attacking people with a knife. And because he watched UFC, he double-legged the guy down. He got stabbed a bunch while on the ground, but he double-legged the guy down, took some shots, but held on to the guy until the police came and got him. And he got like free seats to a UFC show. It was really cool, but it was like, yeah, I've never wrestled in my life. I never really took MMA classes, but I watched a lot of UFC and I decided, hey, I can do a power double to this guy and take him down. And he did.
Goes back to the false sense of confidence thing I was talking about.
If you don't mind being stabbed, shoot a double. Well, so I think it's what we have to say right there. It's like, it's about what you put into it in the end. If you want to learn as self-defense, you're going to put time into it to learn as self-defense. If you want to learn as a sport, you're going to take it as a sport. And it's up to you. I think judo is a good self-defense because in case someone gets close to you, someone breaks your distance, gets in that 6 feet nowadays, you get a little nervous, a little scared, you could throw them. Or if someone tries to throw you, you know how to escape or use a submission. Anthony, what's your opinion in the end?
Yeah, I think, again, better trained than not trained. Even if you don't learn the proper stuff, at least you're getting some exercise and being fit and healthy. That's even more important. So, and if you're finding yourself getting in street fights all the time, like,
I think that's a you problem.
I think that's a you problem. And
well, to go with your fitness thing, I will say this also. Judo builds body toughness.
Yeah.
After doing judo for a while, like, you will be surprised how much your body can take and how tough you can be. Like, I can do an ukemi on concrete, no problem. I was on set one time. I was on set one time. There was this explosion scene. I was running like, oh no, explosion. I tripped. I ukemi'd, got right back up, and the stunt guy was like, you do judo, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I do.
I would like to. They have that stunt training facility here out in LA that I want to go visit sometime. They do a bit of judo, jiu-jitsu, like taekwondo stuff there, so it'll be cool to visit and train there.
We should do that sometime. Let's do it. Side trip.
But let me wait before we leave. Let me ask you this: have you gotten in a street fight before? Had to use judo? Because this is one of the most commonly asked questions online. Like, have any of you judokas had to use this in self-defense situation?
Yes, I have. I've used judo very effectively in a street fight. I've used wrestling very ineffectively in a street fight also before.
Looks like you have a you problem.
It was a me problem. When I was younger, I had a very much a me problem when I was younger. I just drop the hat, speak the wrong thing to me. I'm not scared. Like I used to say when I was younger, I'm not scared to fight. And as I got older, it's like, no, it's not I'm not scared to fight. It's just I'm not scared of conflict. Okay. I would defend myself. I would defend other people. No problem. I have no problem doing that. And I would de-escalate the situation when I have to. But if someone attacks me or attacks somebody that can't defend themselves, then I'll step in. And because of that, I've gotten into many street fights in my life. I haven't gotten a street fight in years, like physical street fight. It's been years. But I'll still verbally argue with somebody. And there's been times where I thought, okay, this guy's getting a little close. Some shit might go down. I'll tell them, sir, stand down. Back up right now and stand down. And pretty much when I say that, I don't know if it's my voice or my presence.
Well, you play as cops all the time, so.
Yeah, so it's got that cop feel to me. And they'll be like, hey, he's talking like a cop now. Is he undercover? No, I think, all right, screw you, brother. All right, screw you, buddy. I'm getting out of here.
I only had to use it once, and it was when I was in middle school, and I got bullied. And I also got one of the bullies, and people left me alone for the rest of the time I was in that school. So
that's a great. That reminds me. This is a little off topic.
I recommend it, but yeah.
This is a little off topic, but one of the senseis that first taught me was Sensei Emi, and Sensei Emi was one of the guys that during World War II, they tried to force him to join the military, and he actually did this whole thing of like getting petitions and getting other Japanese people not to join the military.
Look for those guys who are interested. Look up Frank Emi. It's super interesting story.
Has an amazing life story. I was one of his last judo students. I was actually a pallbearer at his funeral. He was a great guy, but there's a story that he would tell about like when he was in jail that they would get picked on, that all the Japanese guys would get picked on by these boxers and wrestlers and pro wrestlers. The guy tried to start a fight with them. So I think someone challenged him to a wrestling match or box. I can't remember what it was.
I think they had a sports day at in the prison, and they used the prison uniforms as like a gi, and he choked out a boxer or something. He
choked out a boxer and a wrestler, something like that. And so when they did the demonstration showing judo, and then one of them was like, "Hey, you dirty Japanese!" They challenged him. So he said, "Okay, let's go." He went, choked him out, and always say after that day they treated us very nice.
Yep.
Treated us very nicely after that. So it works. It really does work.
Yeah. So anything else?
I think that's pretty much it for this episode of Judo Self-Defense.
It's longer than we expected, so.
Okay. longer than you expected. All right, so anyway, if you like our show, like our stuff, please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me at @gr8_Juan on Instagram. You can follow Anthony at Anthony Throws on Instagram. If you have any questions, you can hit us up on our emails or hit us up on there. Also, if you're on YouTube, a comment right there. If you guys have questions, we can answer them there as well. So, Anthony, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, everybody. Be cool. Be safe.
Yep. See you next time.